So now, Rashad talked about that $5 million of office space, and this is something that, real estate is a lagging indicator for economic trends. And I talk to business leaders every day who are struggling with what do I do when my next lease comes up. And I'm frantically concerned about what the future of commercial real estate is. And so I'm really excited to have Matthew come up and talk to us about the changing face of New Jersey real estate. Maybe you got some great answers for us. Come on up.
All right, good morning, everyone. How are we doing today? Good. So my name is Matt Blaine. I'm with Davison Eastman Muñoz Paone. We also go by Respond Law. So I do commercial real estate there, all sorts of acquisitions, financing, sales, leases, you name it. We do mergers and acquisitions for any type of businesses, startups, whatever your business contractual needs are. On a commercial level, we can handle. I also have the experience of complex commercial litigation for the last 14 years, so which adds kind of a nice feel to it because you know how things can get messed up, which, as we all know, happens relatively often. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit today to start about what our firm's approach is to commercial property, and essentially what that means to us. And I don't want to be boring and talk about, like SNDAs or, triple net lease terms or what the next expense is that you're going to deal with when the municipal taxes inevitably increase and your landlord tells you that you have to pay more bills. We all know those exist, and I don't think it's going to benefit anyone if I talk about stuff like that today too much. But I wanted to talk about our approach, which is really, we try to focus on being strategic and collaborative and responsive, because we don't want to do a lease or to do an acquisition or to do a financing for commercial real estate and for that relationship to end, because then the real value that we can provide to our clients never really manifests. We want to make sure that we focus on the strategic and the collaborative portions and deal with the bumps in the road when they occur, sort of like the bump in the road that I had this morning when my car veered off and wound up not being able to drive up here and having to take an Uber up. So, which was nice because I was able to actually put my thoughts together a little bit more in the back of an Uber as opposed to my car when I was driving. So I'm sure everyone's aware over the course of the last few days that the stock prices of all the national banks and smaller banks all across the United States have been dropping fairly dramatically. Real estate is a lagging indicator, but we can see, I think even the bank stock prices are a lagging indicator, and all the issues that they had with their bonds and the securitized mortgages, those are all now, all those issues that already existed are now manifesting, I think, in real life, and we're going to be dealing with the consequences. But what do we do with commercial real estate now in New Jersey, right? And I think, even driving up here, Edison is a perfect example. Driving down over here, you see you have the Amazon warehousing facility right here. That's all well and good. That's great. Distribution and logistics is absolutely something that we need, and New Jersey is a great state where we can accomplish that. But you don't only want to have warehouses, right? And there's tons of towns all over the state that are dealing with that issue of warehouse developers coming in and putting in, 5, 10, 15, 20 locations. You don't want to be dealing with the people that live in the town, having to deal with all those trucks and everything. You want to have kind of a comprehensive scheme that you're addressing. So you also want to be focusing on, and I think Edison is a perfect example, because even, 10 minutes down the road, you have the old Ford Motor Plant, right? And you have the revitalization efforts that have gone on there, with I think Hart's Mountain leading the charge. I personally was involved with that because I serve as outside counsel for Triple T Hospitality Group, which manages Tommy's Tavern and Tap and Tio Taco and Tequila Bar. And I worked in relation to the old Ford Motor Plant location, because anyone that's familiar with Edison now knows that Tommy's Tavern and Tap is there, has a great location. We worked on the ground lease, we worked on the financing, we worked on all that stuff with them. And Tommy Bonfiglio was a dear friend of mine. Rest his soul, he died last July. But the companies are moving on. Through some of the strategies that we helped implement. We're dealing with a transition. We're dealing with succession. We're doing all that. We also worked with them in Tio Taco and Tequila Bar over there in Edison. When in COVID, when Zinberger decided that they were going to close up all their shops in the Northeast, Tio acquired that location from Zinberger, and that's why Tio's there now. So we worked with all of that. We worked with all the liquor licensing, and I think that if you look at that between Amazon and what's going on in the Ford Motor Plant, it really strikes a nice balance between the distribution and logistics that you want to have on the one hand, and the other evolving uses of commercial property that you can have from, the Topgolf to the Tommies to the TO, and to make sure that people are still coming in, doing things besides just working in a commercial office space, working at a motor plant. Those things are all great, and we need those things, but we all know that the nature of our uses of these properties is changing, so we have to develop with that. And I just want to give kind of a different example of how we have helped some of our clients work through the issues that they have with commercial real estate. And one thing, I'm not sure about the folks here or the folks remotely, but one of the things that we've dealt with over the course of the last 5 years is legacy corporations that are C corporations that are looking to either convert to an S corporation, or they're going into some type of a sell mode where they want to, have that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that all the work and effort that the people have put in over the course of 15, 20, 30, 40 years now pays off and you can ride off into the sunset. Well, if you have a C corp, that doesn't work very well, right? Because C corps get taxed at two levels. It gets taxed at the corporate level and it gets taxed at the shareholder level when distributions are made. So when an exit event is happening and you're making you're liquidating distributions, you get taxed twice. So what do you do about that? Well, there's strategy that you can put into place like that. You need to anticipate the issue. You also need to work with tax and accounting professionals to make sure that the way that you're doing your conversion is done in an acceptable and also in an anticipatory way. So when you get to the stage a year or 2 or 3 later, when you're going to have that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you don't want to have to pay double taxes on it, right? So that's called the built-in gains, and there's ways to avoid that. We've worked with accounting professionals that we've collaborated, tax and accounting professionals that we've collaborated with to anticipate these issues and help reduce the tax burden that these owners of the corporations that were formerly C corporations would have had. And that's the type of benefit that we can bring to the table. One of my good friends they were selling their C Corp, and I said to him when we were at a sporting event a few months ago, I said, the best thing that I did for you in this deal actually isn't any of the legal work. It was actually getting you in touch with these tax and accounting professionals 2 years later, because you guys are saving a lot of money on this now. And so that's the type of collaborative and strategic work that we try to provide to our clients, and we try to do it, on a multi-year level. So we're not just there when there's an immediate need. We're there to help kind of shuffle through the whole process. Now, I want to pivot a bit, and I want to focus a little bit now on the metaverse real estate industry. And some of you are probably hearing that and thinking, Matt, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense, right? I disagree. I may have agreed 2 years ago. Today, I don't, just because of the amount of work that I've actually done in this space and the people that I've been involved in that have helped to implement things for organizations with which I work and clients that I have. So, who here knows what an NFT is? Who here knows that an NFT can be more than just pictures in a non-fungible token? So that's a lot less people that understand that, right? everyone here most people here are probably aware that NFTs are pixel art, right? And you can have Bored Ape yacht clubs and all sorts of crazy things like that somehow appreciate in value to millions of dollars over the course of years. That's all well and good. I'm not here to talk about that, though. I'm here to talk about a little bit now how NFTs can actually benefit people in the commercial real estate space. So I'm not sure if anyone's aware, but we've been talking about Amazon. Over the course of the last year, Amazon has announced that it's going to be launching its NFT platform. Just earlier this week, Amazon, in fact, announced that it's going to be, through this platform, it's going to be issuing NFTs tied to real-world assets. So when you get something delivered to your door or to your business, you can also either acquire or buy an NFT associated with that product or that brand. Amazon has also said that they may be issuing a token themselves, or they may be developing some other type of a blockchain themselves. So my opinion is that tokens are going to be eating the world over the course of the next 10 to 15 years. The tokenization of things are going to be eating the world over the course of the next 10 or 15 years. Because they do provide, in my opinion, a more efficient, they can provide, I should say. There's ways to do it the wrong way. There's also ways to do it the right way. They can provide a more efficient way to organize capital, transfer capital, and for companies to operate. Now, so I want to talk specifically about NFTs serving as fractionalized interests in an entity that owns commercial real estate. Everyone here is probably aware that if you own an interest in an LLC or a corporation or a general partnership, that you receive documents associated with that interest. You have an operating agreement. You might have a membership share certificate. You have resolutions. You might have the same thing that you would have with a corporation. You would have a shareholders agreement. You would have share certificates, right? You would have similar things for a general partnership. You would have similar things for a limited liability partnership. Whatever it is that you're talking about, you have these documents that usually people have forms in PDF or Microsoft Word. You modify them, you send them around on email, you might send out a DocuSign on them in order to manage, to establish these interests and relationships, in order to manage them, in order to govern them. One of the things that we have been doing, that I have been focusing on, is actually bringing those types of organizational documents and interests on-chain onto the blockchain. And blockchains are essentially a time machine of transactions. They record transactions. You can look back on them in time. Anyone can look back on what has happened in relation to transactions that have occurred on the blockchain. There are ways to put these governing documents on the blockchain. There are ways to issue NFTs associated with interests in these companies that have governing documents on the blockchain. And there are ways that you can do it so it can be more efficient and done in a real-time manner. So these can actually allow for real-time and efficient raising of capital, sharing of costs and ownership of real estate with multiple people. It can enable enhanced liquidity and provide more inclusive access, along with real-time and tamper-resistant level of governance decisions for these companies, and a ledger of company transactions and intra-member transactions. And I've actually worked, and this isn't through a business relationship, through a group of my friends that have done exactly what I'm talking about. One is in Idaho, one is in California, one is in Colorado. They're all over the country, right? They established a limited liability company online. They established it on the blockchain in the way that I'm talking about. They had NFT interests that were issued through a blockchain. And they eventually acquired a farm just last year in Colorado. They did it through traditional methods, off-chain, through title companies, through deeds being recorded, through things of that nature. But then they also memorialize these things on the blockchain, and they govern the company on the blockchain from raising capital to distributing capital. They've also landed a lease with a tenant that's a farm that is now managing the farm, and they are going to be distributing the revenues that they earn as a result of the tenant's activities through the blockchain to the individual members. There's another example just in our backyard in Long Branch of, I can't remember the name of the development, but they are essentially doing the same thing, fractionalized issuance of ownership through NFTs in this multi-level development that's going to be going in, I think it's residential in Long Branch. So these things are happening, right? These things are going to continue to happen. If we want to be ahead of the curve, we have to be aware of these developments. We have to know that they're going on, and we have to know who we can talk to help us accomplish them, because this is not easy. But if you have the right team in place and you have the right vision and you have the right collaboration, it's not hard either. It exists and it can be done poorly. We don't want it to be done poorly. We want it to be done well, which is the reason why I'm talking about it today, because we could do something like this today if somebody wanted to. So if anyone has any interest in any of these things, from dealing with a C Corp to doing leasing and financing and development in the traditional manner, or even talking about fractionalized interests in real estate that are accomplished through the blockchain and managed that way, I'm happy to talk more. I think this is the future, and I'm really excited for what these types of things have to have in store for New Jersey. I thank you all for the time today, and enjoy the rest of the event.